United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Carla, please go on first.
This morning I have a floodplain ordinance. As you're all aware, Blasco County does have a floodplain ordinance, and as the floodplain administrator, that's my responsibility to verify properties that are in floodplains adhere to this ordinance. So this is the ordinance that we had all reviewed or had seen several months ago. It didn't get presented to you because we had to verify that towns within the county were also in agreement with following that ordinance. There were minimal changes. This is something the state and Department of Natural Resources do require for communities such as ours with floodplain areas to abide by. So what I had submitted was the updated one that DNR had given us, if you had reviewed it, to vote for it.
So how often does this have to be updated?
As the state sees requirements and as FEMA has some situations that they may run into, I've been here 8 years and it hadn't been updated. So they had said they didn't feel the state was in compliance, and this was on the state, not on us. I mean, if it's on anybody, but they had done some reviewing and updating. And so just as required, such as most ordinances.
So we need a motion to accept the updated floodplain ordinance.
So,
Second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Kyle, our insurance update.
Morning.
Morning.
Or Kyle.
We have a renewal for you to review. There's a little shining bright spot in the whole insurance realm. Assume Nathan wants me to.
It should already be on.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so before you have your property and casualty, as well as your workers' comp renewal information. The front page kind of shows you a breakdown of your premiums and a comparison with the expiring policy. I said this last year and I want to reiterate it again today. When you guys came into office, we were in dire curve with your workers' comp. We had to go to the state pool because you were non-renewed by your carrier. Your premium was about $40,000 more than what it is now. And you guys set your mind to put a emphasis on getting your employees more training, more experience in how to do their jobs safely, and it is paying off still. If you notice, your workers' comp premium renewal is less than $1,000. And I will tell you that your payroll is considerably higher than what it was last year. So that, that would raise your premium considerably, but your modification, your discount also went up. So it kept the premium extremely level. So kudos for what you guys have done. If for any of your county employees that are in here, because you guys have accomplished what you set out to do a few years ago. So as far as the property and casualty, you'll see the biggest increase, actually most of the increase is in your automobile liability. That just has basically to do with rate increase. There is not an insurance company in the country that is profitable in automobile insurance right now with distracted driving, just different, the cost of repairs to vehicles, they're all losing money. They're all taking rate increases, and I'm sure you guys see this in your own insurance, your auto premiums, even your homeowners. So, the reason you're seeing a higher premium on the property and casualties is just rate increases. I did put some feelers out to remarket this year. The auto claims, you guys are still really struggling with your automobile claims, a lot of deer accidents and so forth. But we'll take a look at this again later this year to see if there's something that we can do to bring the premium down. So, but I'll entertain any questions that you may have regarding the renewal.
Well, Kyle, I'd like to clarify, it's $1,000 rate increase on a workman's comp. Yes.
Premium increase.
Excuse me, premium increase.
Yes, less than 1,000, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Total premium is considerably more, but yeah, that's the increase.
Yes, yeah, the workers' comp is not constituting your rate increase. It's in the automobile insurance. So
Yes.
yeah, you were at 97,961 this year, and you're at 98,513. So,
And the auto is about $30,000.
yeah. Just the automobile liability. Physical damage did go up a little bit, but you also replaced some ambulances. You've got some higher value vehicles that you've purchased this year. But it's just the automobile liability is where the majority of your increase is.
And we have a lot of deer.
Yes, you
It's
do.
easy to have an accident driving down the driveway.
Yeah.
Placing with a deer.
I should have counted how many deer claims you had this past year. It's been several the last couple of years.
So when does this policy go into effect?
December 31st.
So we need a motion to approve this, correct?
Yes, if you would, and then I'll stick around afterwards and have you sign some. So,
So we need a motion to approve the insurance policy for the 2024-25, $455,164.
Well, I would approve this policy as presented.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
all right, thank you.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle.
Nathan?
Good morning. First, some updates on the courthouse project, change orders. I have no orders for consideration today. Request regarding sidewalk construction is still outstanding. No new change orders under my threshold have come up since last Monday's joint session. We are still waiting on further information regarding the plaster repairs I addressed last week and the maintenance department's request that we look into adding hydronic control valves to improve HVAC zoning in the building. I would like for the commissioners to consider adjusting our guidelines pertaining to change order approvals. Several months ago, steering committee member John Masterson had recommended this so that we could keep the project moving without unnecessary delays. But it didn't seem critical enough to be prudent at the time. As we've gotten deeper into the work and the contingency balance has decreased, reducing the value of my threshold, I now think that Mr. Masterson may have been correct. I'd like the commissioners to consider increasing my change order approval threshold from 2.75% to 5% of the existing contingency balance, with the threshold for whichever commissioner replaces Mr. Lamer on the steering committee increasing from 5.5 to 8.25. Given that our contingency balance is lower, making everything a little tighter, I'd certainly exercise discretion and still confer either with that commissioner or as appropriate, the full board, if I felt that a change order that was valued under my threshold still merited a little bit of extra investigation and discussion. But I think that John's counsel is well taken at this point to avoid having to slow any work that might be done based on where the existing balance of our contingency is.
Okay, so I would have a question
Yeah.
on the change orders, and possibly John can help with this one. Is there a point in the construction process to where we're finished with change orders, that they're behind us, or will we be subject to COs until the project is complete?
I think you'll be subject to COs until the project's complete, only because, you know, you're gonna find undiscoverable things, or if there's a change, you know, if you change this bank of cabinets to a different bank of cabinets, or you add cabinets, you're always gonna have that change order process. Ideally, as the project goes further, they should be slimmed down unless you add something major.
Okay.
So this percent applies against the remaining contingency.
Whatever the balance is at the time, yes. So that the amount is all, every time we approve a change order or I have to make another expenditure out of it, what that value I can approve as decreases.
Percentage wise, I forget it. What did our contingency fund begin? The amount, remember?
I don't know the exact amount offhand, but it was something like just on our side of it, around 7 or 8% of the total project cost in addition to the 5% that Ton and Blank has. So somewhere around 11 to 13% total.
I think we need to give strong consideration to Mr. Masterson's recommendation, to John Masterson's recommendation. And I would make a motion to go forward with the, your recommended COs.
I'll second it. Moved and seconded. Other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Finances, not much to report, changed them same as last week. Contingency is just shy of 229,000, a little more than 209,000 if we account for the full cost of the not yet approved sidewalk change order. Up about $72,000 in additional future interest that could be credited to the contingency. Project progress, and I'll ask John to add anything to this he feels appropriate and to answer any questions you have. Painters have begun priming, added in a few spots, first coats of paint and done a bit more staining. Some plaster repair and placement has begun too. Ton and Blank has brought a few doors, some fireplace hearths, and some saved trim work back from the highway garage lobby to the building. MEP subcontractors continue doing exactly what they've been doing, what feels like for an eternity at this point. The tower caulk work has been completed, so the scaffolding will be coming down within the next week or two. And like I said, John's here to add anything, to answer any questions you might have. And
So the tower will actually start coming down tomorrow. They pushed off today because of the rain. But yeah, so you should see less scaffolding around the building for now. The exterior of the building, you're probably somewhere around 70% of the entire tuck pointing is done. They still have lower elevations. With the cold weather coming in, they tried to push from the top down so that, you know, they could have an easier time tenting in and heating the lower spaces to keep it within the temperature specs for putting back the mortar. Inside, like Nathan said, they're starting to do some patch and paint. We're pushing to get the ceilings hung by mid-January on first and basement. The lighting package showed up finally. That was a kind of a big delay. There was some conversation that went back and forth as far as, you know, making sure you guys had enough lumens to light all the rooms properly, but that got hammered out. So, you know, as they complete that, I think that's the last major piece of the mechanical, electrical that has to go back in, or has to go in period, so that they can drywall the ceilings. Yeah, questions?
John, what is your schedule over the holidays as far as when you will be not working?
So the Masons, because the Masons are from out of town, they're actually from Southern Ohio. They will not be here at all Christmas week. And then it sounds like they may work all of New Year's week. But as the rest of the, you know, local contractors, currently I only have the job shut down for Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. So we should be here Monday, Thursday, Friday, and then we'll be off the following Wednesday for New Year's. But yeah, very, very little break in the Unless you tell me to shut down, then I'll shut down for,
We're not gonna tell you that. We're gonna ask if you can keep it going.
yeah, we're keeping her going, yeah. Strong strides, so hopefully, everything's good. Other questions?
Well, just a comment, I don't know whether Nathan's made you aware or not, but we have approved rowing to bring fiber from the jail to the courthouse. I don't know how that affects any work being done inside or whether that's been shared at all.
That's a conversation we'll probably have to start with the architect and their IT consultant and see if that has any effect on John's work.
So for John's information, we're upgrading the fiber optics and we're not even sure where the other one runs, so
Sure.
now's the time to do it, so.
Yeah, I actually ran into one of the guys from rowing. He was investigating it like maybe 2 weeks ago or something, and he kind of gave me the, hey, we're looking at doing this, so.
So apparently he didn't find me, but he did find John.
Yeah. Well, I was like, why are you on my job site? I don't know you, so, yeah.
Question in the back?
Yeah, I'm just confused, because we have John, and then we have John Masterson that sits on the steering committee. Are they the same last name too?
No, I'm John Allen.
Thank you, because it was really confusing.
Sorry, Chris.
Thank you.
This is John and his other brother, John.
Yeah.
Right.
We do name everybody John in my family. I'm the third, my son's the fourth, so it's kind of.
Nathan, back on the finances, what course of action do we take if the contingency money runs out?
We start beating up his boss to dive into their share of the contingency because they have not had to touch a very significant amount of it thus far. And it is technically our money, it's just theirs on paper until the end. And I could probably take that.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Well, it's our goal to make sure that we do not go over that contingency fund. And, what is the time frame, John? Has weather affected much? And it looks like we're gonna have 2 weeks of warm weather through the 1st of January.
Really, I mean, we've had a pretty good year, as far as moisture. We really didn't run into any hangups until November. So, the Masons were super fortunate there. They are slightly behind where they should have been, but that was a miscommunication between their office and their manpower. And they've rectified that, so they're pushing forward. They brought out extra lifts and more manpower to get settled up with that. But as an overall, I think we're in pretty good shape. Weather's not too large of a condition for us currently because so much of the work is inside. We have temporary heating going, so the building's, warm enough that we can continue with drywall and finishing and paint without an issue.
And John, how's the supply chain been? Have you been able to get materials when needed?
There have been a few items that have kind of been challenging. Some of the caulk that was spec'd out by the engineer just seems really difficult to get. There was a painting product that was actually discontinued before the project started, and there was limited quantities of it, but yet they really wanted us to use it, so they ended up having to get some of that shipped here. So there was a few things, but lighting is always one of those deals where nobody stocks a bunch of lights anymore, so you got to get it, place your order, wait for it to come in. Those materials, now they're trickling in, so hopefully, I don't know of anything else that's really hung up. I take that back. The louvers. So we have louvers all the way around the bell tower and louvers around some of the lower for fresh air intakes. Those have been a nightmare to get. But allegedly they're on a truck. So I don't know where that truck's at, but it's supposed to be on its way.
So it would be our goal to finish ahead of schedule and for when department heads and the public gets to go back in, for it to look better than expected.
So it's our everyday goal.
Yes. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. All right, just quickly on the revolving loan fund, I don't think we're quite ready to get the changes in front of you, but I did want to give a couple of year-end updates. As you know, we're finishing the year having had 2 loans close. One of the Tippy's loans and Meadow Springs Manor in Francisville. The second Tippy's loan is in good standing and scheduled to be paid off in the middle of this year ahead of schedule. Clear Decision Filtration second loan also remains in good standing, as does Alicia Becker's. Casey Williams Accounting in Maderaeville is almost in good standing and probably would be had I not misreported her balance earlier this year. I've been in communication with her. I'm expecting one more payment from her to arrive before year's end, and she'll either make enough of a payment that she will be caught up, or she'll be very close and we'll be able to get that taken care of at the beginning of the first couple of months of the year.
Ballpark figure of how much money is actually outstanding.
Outstanding, no. Because we've sort of changed the process of tracking over the last couple of years, some of the older funds like Tony's at CDF, I don't know where that is. I would take a look. The Becker, I do know is about 90,000 just because I ran an updated report for her. Sheila's is maybe 2,000, 2,500, somewhere in there. And once I see what the total payment from Casey Williams is, I could get an update on that one. But like I said, on the Clear Decision Filtration one, I've just not had any direct involvement in tracking like that one like I have the others. I just know that Tony's consistently in good standing and making his payments on time.
What about cash in the fund currently?
I want to say it's in the ballpark of 300,000 after we foreclosed on IBC and got part of that back.
I know it's been a request of the CDC to unfreeze that revolving loan fund. We just haven't got that done.
We're working on it, but made a lot of changes that people who are responsible for protecting the commissioner's interests have wanted to be very cautious in reviewing and approving, so that, try to keep learning lessons on this. Kevin and I spent a lot of time several years ago responding to the lessons from the Chesapeake loan that was before my and his time, and always trying to improve the program and want to make sure that we get it right so that we are open for business and able to support people wanting to start businesses in the community without putting an unnecessary amount of risk in it. Obviously, we have a little more flexibility to assume risk than a bank does, but we obviously don't want to make bad loans.
You have many requests for the revolving?
I've got 2 or 3, I'd say, that are outstanding right now with people hoping that it might open up soon.
And is there a specific guideline or goal of what the purpose of the revolving loan fund was intended for?
To support the startup of new businesses and the growth of small businesses. There's a community development block grant from the old Indiana Department of Commerce 40 years ago, and eventually they just handed the funds over to the county directly, but it was for the purposes of small business development.
So while the county, or while the CDC is responsible for those funds and the county handles those funds, it is actually not the county's money on the revolving loan fund.
Right, you can't use it for anything else.
It cannot be used for anything else. So, yeah. Thanks for that clarification, Kevin.
Any other questions?
Anything else for Kevin? Nathan?
Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
Okay, under other business, we have a signing of the claims and payroll number 25.
Okay, I've reviewed the claims and payroll 25, and I make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second. Any other discussion? There's one question on the insurance. There's a large claim on that. Is that for this past year's liability?
How much was it, you know?
30-some thousand, 39,000. That's what I wrote.
98,000. That was the last payment,
That could have been it.
last payment to our insurance.
Yes, that'd be.
Or was it the first payment of next year? It might have been. I can't remember.
Okay.
One of the other.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We have the regular session minutes for December 9th.
Okay, I've reviewed those minutes and I make a motion to approve as written.
All second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Then we have the bonding for the assessor's office. Holly Van Ray at $30,000. Need a motion to approve. I'll make that motion.
I would second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And also under conference requests with the assessor's office, we have Holly and 3 deputies going to the ICCA State Assessors Conference, January 14th through the 17th in Indianapolis. Need a motion to approve that conference request.
Yes, I would make a motion to approve that conference request by those 4 people.
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Then we have a resolution for our ARPA fund. At the joint session, we kind of tentatively finalized our expenditures for that. And Kevin has put together a resolution that says this is how the commissioners agree that these funds need to be spent. And again, we will finalize that and make sure we have what is needed for the reporting of the funds. That is probably due in April. So need to make sure we have invoices and everything. So need a motion to approve the resolution on the ARPA funds.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Then we have a compliance monitoring service contract with VS. Need a motion to approve that contract.
Well, I'll, you want me to address that real quick?
Okay.
So, as you know, we have 4 projects that are likely to begin construction in 2025 and 2026, based on the new economic development agreements that were approved that brought in $500,000 at the end of this year. So what we've looked into is a overall compliance monitor, would be a contracted position. And this position would be, and the company, this is VS Engineering that we've met with and discussed it with. They're here today. Jenny Monroe's here today with her CEO. I'm sorry, I forget his name, but they may want to introduce themselves. But the VS Engineering is going to work in concert with BF&S Engineering that's currently contracted with the highway department, or excuse me, apologize, the building department. Carla has contracted with them and been working with them for, I believe, over a year. And VS is more going to do overall compliance work, our agreements, our road use, our drainage agreements. Also look at our UDO and work with all of our department heads that are going to be involved, and the public, and probably most importantly be a line of communication between the public and the boards and these projects. So they're going to give annual, or not annual, they're going to give monthly reports on the status of it. They're going to have the ability for people to contact them with questions. They're going to go and address community concerns and report back to boards and to the department heads as needed. And make sure that not only that that the solar companies are doing what they've agreed to do, but that the county is doing what the county has agreed to do. And they've been doing this throughout several counties with great success. Very competent company. And one of the great things about it, I guess these agreements we have here today are 4 agreements with the solar companies to pay for this service. This is in addition to what our building department is getting paid for. BF&S is being paid for by the solar companies to assist Carla, but these will also be paid for by the solar companies. The initial influx of money to pay for the services is, based on these 4 agreements, I think is $210,000. I would expect that we may, by the time these projects are done, see 600,000 or more of fees that are paid by solar companies, so that we could have, the county could have an overall compliance monitor to assist with these services. So I think it's a good thing.
Might include the 5% that the county gives.
Yeah. We squeezed that in there too. I'm not sure how excited they were about that, but we took the language from the development fee schedules, which are mandate a 5% surcharge to go to the building department. We took that and applied that to these agreements as well. So the 5% will also be paid. So the county stands to make possibly another $50,000 in fees over the life of this build, which I don't know, might take 2 or 3 years before it's done with all 4 projects. So it's another small revenue stream.
Somebody got their hands up.
Yes,
Do we have an opportunity to ask some questions? Before you vote, do we have an opportunity to ask some questions?
if you would like.
Yeah. Excuse me, Jenny Pennyble. And Chuck, I know I talked with you just a little bit about this last week, but for the sake of transparency for the community, excuse me, I haven't had my coffee this morning. Can you explain to us how the initiation of this process took place? Who initiated this? Was it, I mean, I know I had a conversation with you. How was this brought to your attention to select a company for the construction and the oversight?
Basically, that was my suggestion or question to begin with is, how are we going to oversee all these different projects? So at that point in time, we looked at the company that was doing this type of work in surrounding counties. I don't know, 4 or 5 different counties, and BS may be able to help answer this question as well, how many counties they are in for doing the same thing. So that is why we pursued them.
Did it need to be put out for bid? And I ask that because we're at this point where we're ready for construction, we're ready for inspection. And at this point, I would want as much research done on any companies that are going to do this, because these are massive projects. So to engage with one company without a great deal of research or putting this out for bid, at this point, I wouldn't want to make it easy for a solar developer, and I'm not sure we should go, you're mentioning we don't even need to put it out for bid. But at this point, the lowest bid may not even be the best, because the solar developers aren't going to be paying these fees. I would want to make sure I have the company that is going to provide the greatest amount of oversight, that has the greatest amount of success, that has the fewest amount of mishaps. And I don't know VS and I don't know VFNS. But I think at this stage in the game, we need to be exploring and making sure we have the absolute best, even if it's not the cheapest, for oversight on this, because this is going to impact thousands of acres. This is going to impact thousands, hundreds, maybe thousands of property owners who live around this. So I'm just not sure, I've spoken with building departments. They weren't really consulted on any of this, and I would expect that building departments would have been consulted. Maybe they can speak to their involvement in the selection or how this whole process is going. If you would like to open it up to them.
I think since it's not county money, then it didn't have to go out for bid. Is that correct, Kevin?
That it's not what, Mr. Mellon?
If it's not county money being spent, then it doesn't have to go out for bid.
That's one of the reasons, but you don't need to do a request for proposal on services like this. You don't need to do it.
I understand that.
The way that this came out, I guess, to go back, is the fact that the county was going to engage in I mean, it's not, these aren't county projects. These are projects with solar companies on private land, but the solar, the county is involved at some level, the department heads are involved. So we're going into these projects for large builds. And the county, and you'll learn soon enough, doesn't have much of an administrative level at all. Just that's something we're lacking in. So, for example, when we began the projects to renovate the Justice Center and then the courthouse, it was apparent that we were taking on projects that need people on the ground day to day, talking to the contractors, there's little things that happen all the time that need to be addressed. And Nathan has thanked me many times for suggesting that we need to have somebody, and he was selected to do that. He's done an amazing job of coming every meeting and give a report. And so we were able to have the discussion we were able to have today on the just the changes to the courthouse. So that's just an example of, we need some administrative involvement there. We don't have it. So these projects getting started, we have obligations under these written agreements. The solar companies, of course, have obligations under written agreements. Carla at the building department has got her agreement with BF&S. That's to make sure that they're in compliance with the UDO. This is a different animal. This is kind of overall compliance. They're going to work hand in hand with BF&S. They're not going to redo what BF&S does, but they might read it again. So we're getting a second set of eyes on everything. BS came to us probably in part because Jenny Monroe is known to us. Jenny Monroe is here today, and I'll let her speak for herself, but she is a well-educated, very great communicator. She worked for the town of Culver and got them the stellar community status. If you spend any time in Culver, you understand they've made huge strides over there. A lot of grant writing. She had an editing business before that, so she's great with the written word and reading contracts. And we consulted with her as potentially hiring her as a private contractor. This goes back maybe 2 years. And that never came to fruition for whatever reason. Things are sometimes hard to get through, there's a lot going on. So things don't always get done in a timely manner. And then BS came to us. She went to work for BS Engineering, and they happen to have this service. They're providing this service in several counties. I'll have her get up here in a second. I'm going to put her on the spot to explain what they do. And they proved successful. So they came with a presentation to Chuck, and so there's a meeting, 2 meetings where they would talk to, I was involved, Chuck was involved, we had a council person, we had Sheila involved, we had a group of people that just listened to their presentation. They're very impressive, and then it was a discussion with the solar companies, introducing them to BS, getting them on board, because the truth is, they probably didn't have to pay for this. There isn't anything that says they absolutely have to pay for this additional level of oversight. So they were, I'm not sure how excited they were about it, but they agreed to it. So that's where we're at. So as far as bidding it out to other people, there's sometimes time is of the essence, and I think getting them involved, because these projects are likely to kick off early 2025. So you need to get somebody involved now. And solar companies have all agreed with yes.
Aren't you guys out the door though? Aren't you leaving now? Isn't Mr. Mountain leaving now? So why would you be ramming this through right before you're leaving?
I don't think anybody's ramming anything through. If this board doesn't want to approve it, they don't have to approve it. It can go to the next board. There's nobody ramming anything through. This has been a discussion for a long time. So.
Again, just in response, Kevin, to your comments, the courthouse projects are entirely different on a completely different level than hundreds of thousands of acres of industrial solar.
Sure, that's why I suggested $600,000 worth of work. I mean, Nathan would suggest he's got that kind of time.
But I hear you saying time is of the essence. But time for property owners who are going to be surrounded by all of this and the level of oversight in these projects and the construction needs, this is going to impact whether, you know, good or bad, depending on how these projects go. Hundreds of families who live around this. So when you say time is of the essence, I think at this point, we see solar, we see things going on, and you know, that's fine, but I don't want to hear time is of the essence for not being the most careful and the most, giving the most consideration to the company that's going to do this. So I can't understand why when we're looking at the largest solar complex in the United States, and that's what we've been told, excuse me, that we would not, at this point, make sure we are putting this out for bid. Like I say, even if it's gonna cost the solar developers more money, I can't understand why we would not give the county the consideration. When you say it's not, this isn't a county project, this is between landowners, excuse me, and solar developers. No, the entire county is going to either reap the benefits or suffer repercussions. And no one knows at this point how that's going to go. And again, you're going to do what you need to do this morning. And I understand that, but for the sake of transparency with everyone, I think, I agree with, I'm not sure what your name is. I agree that timing for me right now is very important because I want to make sure I, as a property owner, am protected.
Well, I don't
Thank you. I've said enough.
I just thank you for your comment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, okay. I mean, the goal is to have extra set of eyes. So believe it or not, Jenny and I agree. I think 90% of the way. I think she wants oversight, we want oversight. It's a matter of who's going to do it, I suppose. Bidding it out, I don't know why. There you have a company that's well respected and does this. And if they don't do a good job, the next board can replace them with somebody else if they want. I mean, it's not, we're not putting a gun in anybody's head and making them do this. We're saying this is an overall good thing for the taxpayers. It's being paid for by the solar companies. The second set of eyes is going to be a good thing. And I'm confident that they'll prove themselves in value. And a year from now, you'll be excited about the reports you're getting from BS or Jenny in her capacity be excited about it.
Yeah, we have,
I do think that's incorrect, that it would be easy to make a replacement the way the contract reads, that is not the case.
we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Did you just go down what we talked about?
I would,
Mr. Mello,
so,
did you just approve that BS company?
yes, we did.
You just like disregard everything that was just said just now?
No, it's not in disregard. Still think we're moving forward with the right decision. It's a living document.
How do we know that you're not
Next door.
compromised somehow?
Yeah,
On your way
next-
out the door and the lawyer there, how do we know that,
Careful about what you're about to say. Careful.
no, I'm just asking a question.
No, you're making accusations.
No, I'm not, I'm asking
No,
a
just,
question.
all right,
Okay,
okay.
we need to,
One could say we're being compromised as the taxpayers, because we do have a right to know how this is going to end up, particularly if we're gonna pay through our taxes. There's gonna be a whole new administration, there won't be tax abatements. These people have lied to other people, they have gone out and got loans based on the property owner's property that some apparently didn't know. They say there's not gonna be batteries used, and yet they are using batteries because they can't get hooked up to the grid. So there's a lot that these solar companies are saying that's not true. And if they file bankruptcy, a contract means absolutely nothing. And who does it fall back on? It falls back on us, the community. I think that, we should really discuss and have a really good thought about the future, not just about this BS engineering, which one is that an appropriate name? I don't know. But let me say, it gives people cause for worry. Thank you.
The other agreement you gotta approve, Chuck, is the, agreement for the solar companies to pay for it. So you got the contracts with BS, and then you got
We have to,
approve those
approve the 4
agreements to,
agreements with the solar companies.
yes, which have all been signed by the solar companies.
Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Then I have one other cleanup issue, two cleanup issues, I apologize.
Wait a second.
Yep.
What did you just vote on? I lost. Sorry.
That was for these 4 solar companies to pay the fee.
Okay, you motioned and Marie seconded?
Yes.
Yeah, so Laura, there'd be 4 contracts with BS and, I'm sorry, 1 contract with BS and commissioners for the 4 projects, and then 4 contracts, 1 with each solar company for the commissioners to agree on the terms for their payment.
And Kevin, we have that letter of credit from Mayapple. Would you like to address that?
Yeah, that's a letter of credit that was required for their decommissioning agreement. This is for the Mayapple project. This is BP Lightstream, and they provided the letter of credit to show that they have the financial wherewithal to cover their decommissioning agreement obligations.
And I don't think I need a motion on that.
No, they wanted to make a motion to acknowledge that you received it, so we can just make a motion to acknowledge you received it.
I'll make a motion that we acknowledge we received it.
I'll make a motion to second that we receive it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And the last thing was the decommissioning agreement for Bottom Brush has been discussed at length. Carla's been involved with that. And the decommissioning agreements are approved under our UDO by the building department. But Bottom Brush would like an acknowledgement that you approved their decommissioning agreement as was presented to Carla.
Okay, make a motion to approve the Bottom Brush decommissioning as presented to the building department.
I would second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's all I had.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
I apologize, but I get extremely confused on these solar companies. And you say Mayapple, and all these solar companies have 4 or 5 different names.
Well, I sometimes reference the underlying corporation, so that's my mistake. That's the letter of credit was for the the letter of credit was for Mayapple,
Which is
the bottle BP
also
project.
known as BP.
Yeah. And then the decommissioning agreement was for Bottle Brush. That's the Invenergy project.
Invenergy.
And yeah, INERGY, Energy.
And then our last order of business, we have a water heater issue. And Larry had presented a quote here of $23,155 to install tankless water heaters up to 3 different units. Had a manifold leak in one of the others, the older ones. So being that amount of money, we would need a motion to approve the installation of 3 tankless water heaters at a cost of $23,155.
Chuck, I'll take that out of my budget.
And it'll come out of Larry's budget.
Okay, I would make a motion to approve that request.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's no other business. I'd like to recognize Laura for her years of service as our auditor. And she has helped us rookies through getting started, keeping us somewhat in line, I guess. Also for Kevin, for his, certainly his years of service, that's supplied the county with our legal leadership, and appreciate working with these two fellows for the last 4 years. And we wish Mike well, and the new people coming on board, wish them well. These ladies here are switching jobs, so hope they didn't leave a mess for each other.
Yeah, I would like to say as well, Laura, it's been an honor and pleasure serving the county, working with you, and thanks for all your help. And sure appreciated working with you, Chuck, and Mike, and
This is the first time Laura's used a microphone, she doesn't have to turn it on.
That's probably true. Don's already made a point. So I just want to thank the people of Glasscock County for the honor of having served as your auditor for the last 8 years. And in a few short weeks, I'm going to pass the box rather than the baton to Teresa, who I'm sure will do you a wonderful job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Captain.
Any other business, we have a.
Yeah, hold on 1 second.
We can adjourn.
okay, well, I would, can we adjourn? Or
Do you
not?
want this open during public comment, or do you want to adjourn?
Oh. I'm not sure.
Public comment. Sorry, don't adjourn.
Okay, don't.
Please be cake. Please be cake.
What do you want to take them out? Show them what they're getting.
Okay, so I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for serving the county. We don't have plaques for you because you're not really leaving. We get the honor of having you. But we do have plaques for Chuck, Maurice, and Kevin. I just wanted to say on my behalf, thank you for everything that you've done. And you're gonna be missed.
Thank you.
Sweetheart.
No, I got it.
Thanks, Sheila.
There's one for Ken Boswell, but he's out of country now.
Okay, so I would, motion to adjourn.
Yeah, community comment.
Oh, we got community comment.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I have a question in the agreements you just signed with the 4 solar companies. There is a paragraph that says that the county gives the authority to the consultant to serve as a designee for the road use agreement and the drains agreement. And the county will be bound by the decisions made by the consultant. I guess I'm real concerned with that. I don't want a consultant, no matter who they are, to make the decisions that should be made with our elected and appointed officials, like Carla, like Gary Kruger, Jenny Keller. They are the ones that should have the responsibility to make the decisions. To me, a consultant consults the county, but the county people are responsible for making those decisions. My question to you is, the agreements you just signed, Was that still in the agreement or has that been removed?
No, that's still in the agreement. I think it's a misunderstanding of what the designee is. There is a designee in the road use agreement that is selected by the commissioners. That doesn't usurp any of the other references to the highway superintendent, to the commissioners, to the other entities that make decisions. The designee is really fairly innocuous in those agreements as far as any kind of real power. So it's not taking away any power from the highway superintendent or the commissioners. It's simply a person in
Well,
the.
Why would this paragraph be even in an agreement that's talking about paying for third service,
Right, so.
I mean, I don't understand why this
I understand.
transfer authority paragraph, which is poorly written,
I'm gonna try
is
to
even
address
in
it.
here.
I'm gonna try to address it if you let me. The designee is just, really they go to meetings with the solar companies as the primary role that they serve. And then report back to the boards. So yes, there are some small things that designee does. For example, a bus route needs to be changed at the last minute for the highway department. The solar company needs to change some things and address that with the schools. The designee is going to be somebody that's going to be able to make that call quickly rather than have to come back and have a board meeting, which we can't have unless we have 48 hours notice. So it's just a quicker response. It's not going to take any power away from the commissioners. Commissioners can replace that designee with somebody else if they want to. There's no power being taken away from these groups. And in the drainage agreement, actually, the surveyor appoints her own designee. Now, if she wants to choose BS because they're being offered to her, she can. If she wants to choose somebody else, she wants to make it herself, she can. So I
So this
think that's a
agreement does
misunderstanding.
not bound Jenny and the surveyor's office to use VS or even the highway department to use VS?
I guess not, if they want to find some other way to do it. I don't remember a conversation with Jenny in particular, but I know Gary and I talked about it probably that's some time ago, but he didn't want to take on the role of that in addition to all those other obligations. I'm not saying he's going to ignore the road use agreement, of course he won't, but he wanted some assistance in that regard, so this is going to offer him that.
I guess it's very disturbing when it says, and the county will be bound by decisions made by the consultant.
Yeah, as a designee, right, which I explained is a fairly innocuous position.
And can you describe the procedure if the new incoming commissioners want to replace or go out to bid for consultant versus VS?
They'll have a new attorney, they can figure that out, it's not complicated. I don't need to get into all of the details of it.
Just give us a broad overview.
I guess they would have a meeting and they would discuss it and they'd make a vote and they would change who they want to be their compliance monitoring service. It's not complicated.
Can I address any of these comments?
Sure.
No.
It's really hard to sit back and not address the public comments, which I totally understand. I have short girl problems, so I'll try to look this way and this way.
Jenny Monroe.
This is Jenny Monroe.
I'm Jenny
VS.
Monroe with VS.
VS, right?
V.
Not BS, VS.
Yes. And this is my husband, not the CEO. We happen to be on vacation right now, and from here, we will be headed out to do some holiday shopping and delivering some holiday cheer to some friends. So compliance monitoring and being a designee, we at VS would never presume to take the authority of the county and any work that we do. We're a full service civil engineering company. We do everything from survey work. We have an entire department dedicated to construction inspection, which is where a lot of this background comes from for us. We, of course, have transportation engineers, what we call wet site engineers, which is utilities, water, sewer, et cetera. We've been in the business for several decades. We're not a new firm, not new to this industry by any shot. And our goal is to protect you and to protect the county. We know these are massive, complicated, convoluted projects, They involve agreements between the county and the company. They involve agreements with the landowners. There's adjacent landowners affected. We come in to play the role of protecting the county. We play the role of watching what they're doing, watching what they're building, so that we can say to the county commissioners, to the highway department, to the survey department, et cetera, hey, this isn't compliant with your own agreements or with your zoning ordinance, number of different issues related to compliance. We're there to make sure that they're compliant. We're not there to say, hey, we have the authority to shut this down or the authority to make a decision on behalf of your highway department or your surveyor's office. We certainly communicate with those departments quite heavily. We communicate with commissioners. We do that on a daily basis. We have project managers who run these projects as well as construction inspection people. And I would argue that probably the majority of the work that we're doing is project management. To oversee these projects can mean 10 visits in a week. It can mean 1. It depends on who's been mobilized on the project, what's going on in the project. So when the solar company mobilizes a subcontractor, we're there the day that happens. We're looking at, hey, do they have their MOT agreements? Are they adhering to the routes that they're supposed to take? We're going to make sure that everything in those agreements between the county and that company are met. And if they're not, we're going to very aggressively and very quickly report that to all the powers that be at the county. I did bring with me, this is a sample of a recent progress report for a solar company that we're monitoring in Jasper County. If any of you would like to flip through it, I've shared it with one of your commissioners who was at these earlier meetings. We track everything on this project: communications with the solar company, communications with the departments at the county level. We track the schedule that's happening. We literally track everything you can imagine related to the project, so that any given time, anyone at the county can pick this up and say, here's exactly what's been going on with this project. If there's a follow-up issue, for example, if we find that there's a change the solar company has requested from your drainage board, or there's something going on with the road agreement and there's any sort of change that could occur on that project, we're tracking that and we're following up to make sure it was dealt with properly. If that solar company has to go back to the drainage board or has to go to your BZA or your plan commission, we're tracking that. If they have promised something to the county, or the county or one of these boards has agreed to something based on a contingency, we're tracking the contingency. So that somebody is following up, because you have really busy department heads, and any engineering firm knows that about your department heads. Those people are busy handling permitting, your building commissioner is handling inspections herself. All of those sorts of activities keep them busy on a daily basis. Imagine throwing one of these massive projects at people who are already very busy. We step in to say, we're here to help you ensure these projects go as you need them to go, not necessarily as the solar company needs them to go. So every project that we handle this way has this report coming out. We show up in these meetings to report to the commissioners. We would show up at a drainage board, anywhere we need to be to keep them informed and to manage the projects. We're going to be doing that. And we're particularly good at it. We have our supervising project manager happens to be an NDOT experienced project manager, years at NDOT. I don't know if you know those folks, they're extraordinarily OCD. Myself, I stay involved, though I'm in business development with VS. I support the Maryville team. I'm somewhat local to some of the northern Indiana projects because I live in Culver, Indiana. I happen to serve as both town manager as well as building commissioner in my own community. So I know how ordinances work. I know how zoning works. I know how project management works. We also have a project manager with a municipal background who joins these projects. And then, of course, we have our construction inspectors. We have an entire department dedicated to construction inspection. We've been doing that for over 50 years at VS. I would have brought our CEO, but his father is in the hospital, and it's been a really rough holiday season for him. So instead, you're stuck with my husband, who I'm sure would answer questions as well, but
Hopefully it's going to be
I'm
fun.
gonna have to, appreciate your comments. We're running into the drainage board meeting. I'm sure that, Jenny would stay around if you have questions, you can direct them to her. But, at this point, we've already had a motion and a second, so we'll call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
I have one last question. Nathan, this is for Nathan.